Okay, today I'm going to get the photos of everything I need so that I can order the fan motor. The first thing you want to do is, every one is different. This is the power for our air conditioner. This just pops off here. See, mine is set like this. Not all will be this way. This means you have power. If I flip it this way, there's no power. I've had mine long enough that I know how it works. What that will do is it'll make sure that there's no electric running to the unit so that I won't get electrocuted or anything like that, which right now we're just turning it off. This is just a cover. It's just going to keep popping off there. So that makes sure that there's no electric running to this unit. Before I start actually installing the motor, which I'm not doing today because I don't have it, I'll verify that with a voltmeter. So what I'm going to do now is remove this cover. I already did this on what happened on my unit. Look down inside of here. This is my fan motor. Right here on the top. Each one will be different, but this is my fan motor. I turned it on. What I heard was a humming sound coming from in here. So everything else was working. I could hear it kicking on and off. The fan would not pull the hot air away from the compressor unit. So it's usually either your compressor, your fan, or there's a relay switch. And since mine was coming on, this was humming but it wouldn't start. I removed this and I tapped it with a hammer and then turned it back on, and the fan moved just a little and it stopped. So that lets me know that this fan has went bad. You want to make sure you shut it off when that happens, because if the rest of it wants to run and the fan's not, you could burn up your unit. So we've had to turn the power off since then. So what I'm going to do now is just remove this cover, get a picture of that fan so I can get the information I need to order a new motor. And when the motor comes, I'll show you how to install one. Look down inside of here. See this? I'm going to have to make sure I wash all this out when we get it to put it back together. I mean, you just need the new motor that we ordered came today. I got this from Grainger. The way it works with Grainger is you type in the serial number or the model number from your last one, and it gave me the number for this one. And ours is an older unit, so they no longer make the motor that came on it originally. This is a replacement motor. So I'm getting ready to open it and see if it looks like the other motor. They did a very good job of packaging it, which we work a lot with Grainger where I work, so I've had good experiences with Grainger. They tend to be a little more expensive, but they also tend to have some pretty good stuff. So there's the unit. Without having the other one right there with me, it does look like the same one, because I know it's held in by 4 bolts. So looks like everything is intact. My original idea was I was going to rewire the motor, but as you see, this is already wired up. So what I'll end up doing is pulling the wiring through the protective sleeve and running this through, and then we're gonna, I'm not sure that my unit has these quick connects. We'll know once I open it up. We'll have to rewire it, which it should only be, I think, 3 wires. Let's look. Okay, it's 4 wires. I do know that these 2 are quick connects, and then we'll do these. Rewire it just like it was. Hook the ground back up, which this will be hooked up. We might have to cut the wiring. We'll have to see. We'll see when we get to it, but stay tuned for the rest of the video. Just loosen this screw, and it pulls your fan blade off in one full swoop. That way I can move this to the side. I couldn't do that with the fan blade there, because we've got the breaker turned off inside and the breaker turned off outside. Verify the new motor has a longer shaft than the old one did. So we're going to see how far up the fan blade was, because we want the new one to be roughly the same. So the fan was an inch and a half. So when we put it on here, that fan blade's going to be roughly an inch and a half down on here. So right about here, which we're not doing that right this minute. We're just seeing. Now we got to check how the wiring is run through this. It comes down through here into this, which is needs cleaned out. So we're going to verify there's no power to this. We're checking everything here. It's got 3 wires. The new one has 4 wires, as you can see, and a ground. It uses the black. These 3 wires. You'll see these are what holding it in. So we're going to take 2 out. There's the old one. So here is the guard that's covering your power lines, on our unit anyway. There's 2, supposed to be 4 bolts, but it looks like 2 of them's been removed already at some point in time. Is your power box, which, as you can see, I've never been in it, but it's dirty. Make sure there's no power going to it. And there's no power. That's exactly what we want. This is not going to be easy. There's the old unit being removed. Okay. There's that. There's your old one. Alright, so I had the new motor. I've got the wires run through this. I tested the motor, it did come on. And if you remember, I took a measurement on the last one. And this blade should be roughly 1.5 inches off here. So you're looking at right about there. I don't have a mark. So mark it with this. So roughly there. Then one right to there. Then I'm going to tighten it down. Gotta try to line this up. I'm running the wires. This new motor came with wires that the other one did not have. Unfortunately, they don't go down inside this cord like they're supposed to. So I zip tied them and I covered them, which will cover them a little better in a minute. The main thing is trying to get everything else lined up and in place. So because as you can see, fan blade is off just a little, which you can adjust the fan for that. That's what we're trying to do here. Tightening this down. Check the fan to make sure it's not going to hit. It looks like it's not. Now we're going to tighten these bolts up. Like I said several times now, make sure your electric is turned on. And if you're working with someone else, like I am, you don't want to just worry about yourself, you're worried about them too. So what I have been doing is I keep the power piece beside me. I know as long as I have this, there's going to be no power to that. Even if someone was to walk through the house and turn that on, there's not going to be power coming to this unit as long as I have that. Now, most units have that, but not all. So, if you're working by yourself, or you know there's others present, you might. I have the breaker off in the house and out here, but the removable I'm keeping with me just to be on the safe side. Okay, so what I had to do on this one, the new fan, you saw me measure it, which I did, to make sure the distance of the fan was the same. Well, what I didn't take into account, this new fan is taller than this fan. So I had to go back in and adjust the blade again accordingly to make sure that, okay, yeah, I measured that part, but the fan still wasn't in the right spot. So then I had to come through here, and I had to go redo that, remeasure it, redo the fan. See, if you look down in the shroud, the fan is not going to be touching anything. It's right where it's supposed to be. The wiring is all set up. We just got to put these screws in, and then it should be ready to turn on. Now, going to the 4 wire from the 3, I did have to add this. And if you look on the inside of this very closely, there's a red dot. That red dot tells you which side of this is positive and which side is negative. Well, mine, the motor diagram tells me the all brown wire goes on this one, the brown and white wire will go on this one. This is basically just to jump start this motor. It would not run without it. I've seen some people say they ground the second wire since you're not really using it. I don't do that, simply because if it's not a ground wire, I don't ground it. So I got that tight. I'm going to check my fan. It's snug. Making sure my blades don't hit. Now, one thing I am going to do that I don't know if everyone does. I've seen some videos of other people doing these. I'm going to actually spin that blade on making sure these are real snug without just really destroying anything. Then just go in and start it. Me, I'm going to spin the blade to make sure it doesn't hit nothing, because if I have her go in and start it and the blade is off just that little, and these things are, they're not really adjustable, but you can adjust them a tiny bit. If it's off just a little, it'll start just tearing into that shroud. And then I'd have to order a whole new fan blade, and I'd just rather get it right the first time. Now, what I did not do this time around is change the condenser, but I did order one. I recommend changing the condenser out if you change the fan, which I'll do. Okay, so what we've done now, you can see it's on. There's air blowing out. Now the air is not real warm. I made a mistake of thinking the air had to be real warm. The air in the house is not that warm. It's not that hot today. It's like 78. It's blowing the air out like it's supposed to. Everything's good down in there. These are the wires that were not on the last motor. They are zip tied, and I will cover these up. This is so if you ever need to reverse the polarity on your motor, have to go backwards. The old motor didn't have that. So as you can see, if you come around here. So what I did for a temporary fix is, there's the purple wire, which on the last one was yellow. Black wires up here, which black on this one. And as I told you, there were 2 brown wires that went to this capacitor. The red was the positive and the other side was the negative. I need to bolt this in, but you don't want it just flopping around. So tomorrow I'll get a steel strap and strap that down, but for now it's zip tied so it doesn't flop around. It's running as it should, and as you look here, the motor's running, everything's fine. So that's how you install a new motor. Went from a 3 wire fan to a 4 wire fan. These, like I said, are your extras, so if you want to reverse the polarity on your motor. And thanks for watching. Thumbs up, like and subscribe.